Open the Bible, and you're met with high-stakes, cinematic momentum. You see rushing floodwaters, towering structures, and desperate survival in the desert. But that momentum typically crashes in the third or fourth book. You hit a wall of ancient administrative law, architectural measurements, and census data. Most people quit here because the story seems to have disappeared. This is the syllabus trap. We assume a book must be navigated front to back, like a soldier on a timeline. But a linear reading of this specific library turns it into unbearable homework. If we move past the chronological novel structure, we find a 2,000-year-old open-source archive. It functions as a compressed record of human relational failure and systemic repair patterns. Navigating this archive requires the posture of a trickster coyote in a dried riverbed. You follow the natural topography, going where the water once ran, instead of forcing a path down a blocked paved road. Approaching the text through its topography transforms the archive into a playable map of human nature. Effective navigation starts with a map. We'll condense the entire 66-book library into a single, repeating 7-step spiral. The cycle begins with order, a state of initial harmony. This is followed by rupture and escape, the break from a dominating environment. To keep that freedom from collapsing into chaos, the system builds structure, the covenant scaffolding that makes a people possible. Eventually, that scaffolding calcifies into rigid institutionalization. This leads to systemic collapse, where the institutions fail entirely. Finally, Reconstruction acts as a hinge, attempting to restart the cycle by shifting the focus from external rules to the internal heart. This table shows how the ancient biblical track maps directly to the vernacular of modern human systems. This pattern describes the life cycle of a Silicon Valley startup, a recovery program, or a global empire. Seeing these stories as systemic functions anchors the narrative. Adam and Eve operate as the original UX researchers, demonstrating how a single choice creates a system-wide rupture. Moses provides the rules and covenant scaffolding required to keep a newly liberated people from eating themselves. The prophets act as whistleblowers, identifying when the system has become a cage. Assigning stories to these systemic functions provides a practical shelf for every narrative in the library. Sideways reading identifies points of human ache rather than following a chronological timeline. The sequence begins with Ecclesiastes, exploring burnout, jumps to Mark for high-speed action, then bounces to Job, where the equation of good behavior equals good outcomes completely breaks down. This exploration relies on Rule 0. If the reading stops being engaging or feels like a chore, you close the tab and walk away. Giving yourself permission to jump around and to quit breaks the syllabus trap, allowing curiosity to drive the search. There is a critical anomaly hidden at the end of this cycle. Notice the glowing orb labeled the 7th step gap. While the first 6 steps map to earthly systems, the 7th step, new creation, has no systems word twin. The map explicitly places it outside the cycle. This gap functions as an asymptote, a horizon implying that ultimate human restoration cannot be manufactured by our own systems. The text suggests that some human problems cannot be solved by building a better institution. They require looking completely outside the loop. To engage this fairly, we follow the ECHOF method, which focuses on protecting the foreignness of the text. We avoid colonizing the text to fit our modern biases by using the 2-track rule. You let the ancient text remain weird and irritating. That friction is where learning happens. You do not need to accept a single theological claim to use this ancient open-source map. You simply have to recognize that your relationships, your work, and your society are already trapped somewhere on this exact spiral. Set a 20-minute timer, approach the topography sideways, and explore the archive of your own life.